Hey, good afternoon. Yeah, good afternoon. So, welcome to a less edited version of Relax, Relate, Release. And I say a less edited version today. I'm sitting by my window, so if I'm not looking at you, it's because I'm looking outside. It's been a tough week. And what do we do when we have a tough week as single mothers? Look at me, just a bit of a hot mess today. But what do we do as single mothers when we've had a bit of a rough week? What do we do? What do you do? It'd be interesting to hear what you do when you're not feeling your best or you're not feeling 100%. So today's Relax, Relate, Release, I am just gonna, I guess, decompress with you and see where I'm at mentally. So many of you would have been aware of all the things that have been going on since the death of George Floyd in America. And if you haven't noticed, I'm of colour. I am of colour. Some people would call me black. Some people would call me of African descent. Some people would just call me coloured. Some people would call me brown. I don't like being called BAME. It's a statement or an acronym that we have in the UK, BAME, B-A. I don't even know what it stands for, but do you know what I don't like about it? It's the word minority. Minority. I don't like being associated with a minority. Now, I know it might be associated with the number of us, but I don't think we should still be associated with the word minority when there is just a disproportionate balance of detrimental things that seem to happen to people of colour. I don't think we should still be associated with the name minority when something bad happens. We seem to be the majority. I don't really like it. So I don't associate with that. I don't associate with being African anything. I know heritage and I know where we all came from and all of that stuff. I get that. However, I was born in this country. My mother was born in this country and father were born in this country. My grandparents were born in the West Indies. Their parents were born in the West Indies. Their grandparents were born in the West Indies. Their grandparents were born in the West Indies. Thereafter, we're up into slavery time. So yeah, maybe a generation or two or even three, you may have had an African. I do know that some parts of my father's family are Maroons. So to my knowledge, they were not part of slavery. But again, that could be fable, that could be true. But I don't consider myself African anything. So when it comes to things like forms, and they want to know what do you associate yourself with, and weirdly enough, I don't consider myself British either. I don't really hold any heritage to this country to say that I am a British woman. So I'm always black other, or if there's just other, I'm other. I'm just me. I am just me. I don't hold to be African. I don't hold to be West Indian. I don't hold to be Jamaican. I don't hold to be Caribbean. I was born in this country, and that's about it. That really is it. You want to ask me what colour I am? I'm a dark coffee in terms of what colour I am. What race am I? I guess I associate with the black race, but black is a colour. What is a race hold? Is it colour or is it culture? I don't know. It's a funny one that I have a discussion with my 8-year-old quite frequently. He wants to know why they call us black when he's not the colour black, and black is a colour. It's a good point. And he's 8, but it is a good point. But anyway, back to the point. So there's been a lot of hoo-ha and a lot of anger in the air. And me as an empath, I thought I was kind of sailing through it and rising above it and being all right with it. But Friday I broke down. Friday I was in tears because 2 nights before that, a 2-year-old was shot in my old hometown, I guess, in Halston, Northwest 10 in London. a 2-year-old was in hospital having been shot. And even saying it, it still upsets me that a 2-year-old, defenseless 2-year-old, his mother and he were in a car and he was shot. Somebody opened fire, 4 people were shot, and one of them was the 2-year-old. And I just think, where is your mind? Where is your heart that you could open fire aimlessly and senselessly to that extent? How do you just shoot into a car? You see a woman, you see a child, and you still open fire. And I tell you what that did to me as a mother. It cut me to my core. Because I know what it feels like to feel just helpless, like you can't help your child. And I can imagine what that mother must have been feeling like when they took her son to the hospital. The last I heard, the son was in a critical condition in hospital. I can just imagine how helpless that mother must feel right now, knowing that as mum, I am protector and guardian of my children, and I automatically feel a sense of guilt if, something happens to my child and I'm not there to help, or I'm not there to support or to take away the pain. That's what I see my role as mum. And I can just imagine what she must be feeling, that she can't do that. She couldn't keep her child safe. And I actually went into a bit of a panic having read that story, because I thought, God, where can I move my children to where their race or their skin color or their skin tone doesn't automatically put them into the profile of troublemakers? Where can I take us where being a black boy doesn't automatically put you in this, hypothetical list of children or people who are going to cause trouble? Where can I move my children to where being a male child of color doesn't automatically mean anything? Where can I move us to where we can just live? Where can I move us to where I don't have to worry? And it's bad. And I tie this in with the whole issue around George Floyd. And I know my thoughts aren't really accepted by a lot of people, and people don't really want to hear it right now. But do you know what cuts me even deeper than this racial injustice? It cuts me even deeper when we do it to ourselves. And I know now is not the time to talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it because this is what bothers me. I have to worry about people of non-colour, not to say white people don't have a colour, but, people of non-colour. I have to worry about how they perceive my children growing up with colour. That is one side of the problem. But I also have to worry about people of colour profiling my sons who are of colour, and one day deciding that they don't like them and attempting to take them out, God forbid. That is actually a genuine concern. I am actually more concerned that my sons are going to get robbed by somebody of colour, or attacked or beaten up by somebody of colour. That actually worries me more. And what do I call that? Who's going out marching the streets of central London when somebody of colour takes out somebody of colour? That's what made me panic, and that's what made me ask God, where can I move my children where they're safe? I remember living and growing up in Harlesden, Northwest 10, where this recent incident took place, and my mother moved us out of Harlesden because it was no longer safe for me. She felt that as a young girl of colour, I shouldn't be in that area, so she moved us out of Northwest 10 and she brought us up to Harrow. Now, Harrow, some 20 years later, is no longer a safe place to live. stabbings, shootings, the drugs, the violence, the crime. It's ridiculous. There's not a day that doesn't go by where I see a picture of, you know, some violent attack that's taken place and I know where that is. That's round the corner from me. Or the helicopters. I remember living in Harlesden and helicopters were normal. Sirens were normal. I used to call it our national anthem for Harlesden, just hearing sirens. And that's now where I live. That's now my everyday life, and I can now fully understand the concern my mother had, thinking, where can I take her? I need to get her out of here. And it's a shame that I have to think of the racial demographics of an area. I shouldn't have to, but it's the truth. I do. I do think of the racial demographics of the area before I consider moving there. And that shouldn't be so. I shouldn't worry. I shouldn't have to worry about my children being amongst people of their own colour. Why should I have to visit places of, you know, predominantly coloured people or people of colour? Why should it just be a place that we visit and we go to get our ethnic food from and then we go back home? But that is the truth of it, isn't it? That is really actually what happens. That's how I feel as a mother raising two boys. Don't know if I'd feel different raising two girls. I guess I would. But I'm not in a state of panic anymore, but I am very worried. I'm worried for my boys. I'm worried for my boys. I am. Because the Bible even tells us that bad company corrupts good manners. And I strive real hard to raise my children well. But there's only so much I can do. And I know there are going to be some mothers on here who probably echo that, who are maybe living in those areas. I'm living in one of those areas now. I didn't think Harrow could get like this, but, you know, it was that one day where I heard Harrow being called Northwest London, and I thought, since when? We're not even a Northwest postcode. I know we're a London borough, but we're not Northwest London, are we? I'm a HA postcode, so how am I Northwest? But okay. And since then, I just feel like I'm back in Harlesden again. No word of a lie, I do. And I love Harlesden. It was home. It still is. But I hope you hear what I'm saying. Like, I'm concerned. I am concerned. And I hear the racial injustice, and that needs to stop. That mindset needs to change. That mindset needs to change. It is not right that people can commit murder, and because they are police, and because they have a badge, and because they've pledged to secure the communities, that they can get away with it. No, murder is murder. If you were not under threat and nobody posed a threat to you and you took a life unnecessarily, it's murder. And people need to be brought to justice for murder. You take a life, you take a life. It's simple. People need to be brought to justice, but that's not for me to deal with. But I just want to come on here, I guess, and echo what probably a lot of mothers are feeling, and that is a slight element of concern. Where do we take our children? As single mothers, it's just me here. It's just me. I'm co-parenting with God, and it's just me here. So I have to make those decisions, and I have been praying and asking God, you know, what do I do? What do I do? Where do I take my children? Where do we go? Where can I move? What borough can I go to where my children are safe and where my children aren't automatically profiled as a troublemaker because of the colour of their skin? And I don't know where that is. And that really brought me to tears on Thursday evening, because I just thought, God, I can't. How can I keep them safe? How can I keep them safe? So that was my relate. I guess that was my relate. That was my vent for the day. But you know, I just really want to leave a prayer with anybody who might be feeling how I'm feeling today. We need justice. But we also need some wisdom in and amongst ourselves, because the visualization I have in my head is we can't continue to be messing up our own front gardens. And I mean taking a poop in our own front gardens day after day after day. People are watching us take a poop in our own back garden. And then somebody else wants to do it in our own front garden. And we want to tell them, no, you can't do that here, when they've watched us do it. Not just for a couple of years, for generations. We need to change. Black Lives Matter, but how can you tell me a Black Life matters when you sell a black brother drugs? How can you tell me a Black Life matters when you would coerce and take a young child and ship them off to Edinburgh with your drugs? How can you tell me a Black Life matters when you know a mother is struggling and she is struggling with drugs and you prostitute her? How can you tell me a Black Life matters when you would know a household that is struggling and, you know, you would pretend to be helping a mother out by asking her to hold your firearms or to hold your drugs? How can you tell me a Black Life matters when you would willingly open fire on another Black life for the sake of a postcode, for the sake of some drugs? How can you willingly open fire on a child and a mother in a car and then tell me Black Life matters? Who does it matter to? It doesn't compute. I'm very logical. It doesn't compute. It doesn't compute. It burns me when, you know, other races are so horrible and there's an injustice and a discrimination against us. But what burns me even more is when we do it to ourselves. When we do it to ourselves, it's just not right. It's not right. It's not right. And if there's any mothers on here who are feeling, you know, that way of, where do I take my children? What do I do with my son? What do I do? Where can I take them? You know, I'm just going to offer up this prayer. If you're believing or a believer, then, you know, join in with it. But if you're not, I pray God, I pray these declarations over your life anyway. So I ask that God would give you wisdom as a mother, that God would give you insight as a mother, that God would give you knowledge beyond your own understanding. I pray that God cover your children. I pray that the very existence of your children is never known to anybody that means them any harm. By that I mean, if there's anybody on the streets looking for another child to groom, I pray that your child could walk past them and they would never even see them. That their name never enter their ears, that their names never enter their mouth. I pray that they be covered in plain sight. I pray that even in the schools, they are not seen. I pray that they are the head and not the tail. That anybody who is out there that means them any kind of harm or any kind of danger, that they would not even see their existence. They would walk past them and see nothing. God has the ability to do that. I pray God open doors and ways for you to be where you need to be. I pray God keep you safe by day and God keep you safe by night. I pray that God keeps you safe in your mind, that as a mother, you wouldn't lose your mind with worry. God says that we should cast all of our cares on him because he cares for us. And I pray that you would really accept that care, accept that God cares for you. I know he cares for you because he cares for me. And I pray that your children will not be worried or anxious. I pray against the spirit of anxiety, that we wouldn't succumb to panic. We wouldn't succumb to fear. Fear only brings torment. And I pray against the spirit of torment in any of our lives. And I pray for the families and associates of George Floyd, that anger and malice wouldn't take set in their heart. I pray for the mother of that 2-year-old boy that was hurt in Harlesden, I pray that she also wouldn't succumb to anger and malice, that there would be no retaliation action after this, that the spirit of violence and vengeance would be stopped in its tracks. I pray that God root it out of the hearts of us, the generational hurts that we are carrying that have turned into this bloodthirsty way of living, and that we would really see ourselves as Black people, and that we would really understand that Black lives really do matter. So this has been Sisters Daily, a little somber, but I hope you hear me, and I say amen to that and amen. So I will see you next week, and take care.